Well, I figured I'd add another type of video to the YouTube, and one of it, or shouldn't say one of it, the video is going to be on the LS swapped Cavalier. So I'm just going to give you just kind of a once over of how the car sits right now, and then probably a little bit of a description of what the car was for the first owner, the second owner, and then now me. So the car's kind of a mess right now. It was being stored, and the person forgot that the hood didn't latch. The hood came up, smashed the windshield, screwed up the roof, okay? Now, right now, you can see here, factory radiator, factory fan, core support brace, factory hood latch. We're waiting on the new core support to come in. So this will be all the factory front end here. Factory fan. We're going to ditch the trans cooler, and we're going to run the factory tranny cooler lines. The other day we pulled the motor and upgraded the oil pump. Now we're running about 55 to 60 psi of oil at cold. You know, originally these pipes came out the front bumper, for those of you who remember pictures of it before. So right now this is just underneath the car. This one's up here for now because it doesn't fit, and this pipe's on the end of here just to make the tuning a little bit easier, as we are tuning it for 91 to 93 octane. We ditched the tank of E85. Everything's a little bit dirty from sitting down here in Texas. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at here. The head's got to come off. We're putting new lifters in. There's a lifter that's tapping. We're going to be doing some coil relocation brackets and get the coils off the motor here. They're just a little bit close to stuff, so, you know, we're going to probably mount them over here on the wheel wells or whatever. There's a factory coolant reservoir that I have that we have not pictured here because we're getting new coolant lines to get all the factory coolant style stuff set up. I have the dash pulled right now. We are going to be ditching whatever this cluster is in here. We're going to be ditching all this crap here, and we're going to be putting 100% factory dash back in. We're going to put a factory gauge cluster. We're going to be setting up so the speedometer, the RPM, we're going to do everything we can to make everything on the dash work like it would from the factory. And then we're undecided what we're going to do with the rest of the car here. So we may try to get a new carpet for it, or have a carpet made so it looks a little bit cleaner. Undecided on the ratchet shifter. Maybe ditch the ratchet shifter and just put a Cavalier factory shifter back in there so it's a little bit more stock looking. Move the fire extinguisher, hide it, cover it up, whatever. Obviously, like I said, put a new dash in, fix some of this crap here. There's a lot of random stuff that we want to do with it that we'll make and put in the video. Right now it's got skinnies on the front. We may have to adjust it the suspension a little bit, just get a cleaner street look here. The back we need to actually jack up a little bit because the tires rub when we turn corners. And so, you know, we'll make videos on how to do a lot of this stuff. I'll even at some point make a video on what the original owner did that got the motor just sitting here and whatnot. Once we get the car in the air too, we'll make videos of underneath the car. But this is just kind of how the car sits right now. And I'll keep making videos here as we fix, clean things up, make things, I mean, like, look, like, get rid of crap like this, get this harness cleaned up, make it look a lot nicer, because this is just kind of all crappy right now. Okay, so more about the car is, one, the car is running a Holley Terminator X system, which we will be releasing some videos as well on the Terminator X and how to use it and how to tune with it and set up or whatever. The car started its life originally, I believe, as a 96 Chevy Cavalier. It is a clean title car. It is registered, it is licensed, it is street legal to drive. It started as obviously a regular Cavalier, probably a 2.2 4-cylinder automatic back in 1996. Early 2000s, and if I remember correctly, it might have even been 2000. I'll try to reach out and get a hold of the original owner of it again, because I have talked to him on Facebook. He was out of Wisconsin, and he had a small block Chevy 350 and a T5 manual transmission in the car. I'm not sure how many owners it went through after that, but I do have pictures of the car, and the car looked very nice when it was originally done. So the car's been V8 swapped now for over 20 years, which is actually pretty impressive for the time period, because the car had only been a couple years old. Hunter ended up with a car out of Green Bay. I think Hunter wanted to get into doing some LS swap stuff. He does mainly a lot of Hondas, a lot of performance Hondas, and he is the one who put in the 6.0 LS, rebuilt LS engine, and the TH350 turbo transmission that's in the car. So right now it has a 6.0 LS with a cam, a built turbo 350 with a pretty large stall. I don't really remember what the stall speed is anymore. I'm going to have to go back and look at you know, my information that was written down. It's got a Ford 8.8 Ford Explorer / Thunderbird rear end in it, which I believe has a factory 373 gear ratio, which for on the street, that's fine. If the car was going to be dedicated drag car, we would probably bump that up to at least a 410 or higher. I'm trying to think of what else it's going on. So it's got the batteries in the trunk. It's got a 10-gallon, I believe it's a 10-gallon, could be wrong, I believe it's a 10-gallon fuel cell in the trunk. It's more than likely a Walbro fuel pump. It's got 80-pound deka injectors, which is way more than that motor needs. And actually at the fuel pressure that we're running, and they're more like 96 or 100-pound injectors at the upgraded fuel pressure. So that's pretty awesome there. Definitely enough fuel to run turbos and whatnot down the road. It right now has what I believe are factory Chevy 5.3 manifolds. One is underneath the car, facing underneath the car right now, and then the other one is facing straight up in the air, as it does not fit underneath the car at the moment, because the way that they put that engine in there is they actually put the engine offset to the passenger side, which for drag racing you wouldn't normally want that, because you would want the weight more shifted towards the driver's side, because as you launch, it's going to start twisting the car and trying to lift the driver's side up. So having the weight more on the passenger side actually makes the car twist more. But it is mainly, I believe, because of the steering, the way the steering was set up, that they moved it over a little bit to give it more room for the steering and for the exhaust to go through. So I might move it over, but it's a lot of extra work, so I might just leave it exactly how it is. We are undecided on some of the stuff with the gauge cluster, how we're going to get things to work. We are looking at, I shouldn't say we, I'm looking at, they have one that basically attaches to the gears inside the Turbo 350, and then it converts analog to, I don't even know if it would be considered analog. It just converts mechanical turning, which I believe is probably analog, to a digital pulse, VSS signal essentially, that would be transferred to the computer or the gauge cluster. I'm not sure what the Cavalier did back then. If it is the computer, it's going to be a little bit extra work, because we're going to basically have to get the harness, the computer. I'm going to have to program some things in the computer, program some things out, whatever. But I really want it to be stock speedo, stock gauge cluster. You know, I want the RPMs to work. I want it to, other than the fact that it's got a monster V8 and a built transmission in it, I want you to, when you sit in the car, I want everything else to look factory. You know, it's one thing to have a V8 in something like a Chevy Cavalier. It's another thing to have a V8 in a Chevy Cavalier that feels like it's stock. So that's the big thing there. If there's a way to add air conditioning or anything else like that, I'm definitely for that. If anyone has any ideas on how that could be added to the car, I'm also possibly looking at re-adding in the upper cowl and the windshield wipers, so that way the car can be driven, well, not even really driven in the rain, but basically so you can clean the windshield of dirt and dust and all the other crap that gets on the windshield when you're driving it. So I think that's about it for an update right now. So hopefully I'll be able to make more videos about the car and kind of put them together for like those of you who are going to be doing LS swaps on a similar vehicle and just want ideas. You know, I can't obviously take credit for the LS swap part of the car, as I'm not the one that did it, but I can guarantee at this point going forward, I will be putting more work into this car to make it, in my eyes, right than anyone else has at this point. Because, you know, the original owner basically just cut a bunch of holes in the gauge cluster and slapped some, you know, AutoZone gauges in it, and they use those. Well, I don't want that. I want things to work the right way. And, you know, this is pre-CAN bus system, so it's going to be a hell of a lot easier to make this operational than it would have been if it was CAN bus. If it was CAN bus, you know, we'd have to look at adding some modules and things like that. So if anyone has any questions or any specific videos that you'd like to see based on it, feel free to reach out and let me know, and I'll see what I can do.